Untitled 4. No informed person questions the fact that the truths in the Bible are obscured by mistranslation and interpolation. My statements are not intended to tear down in any way its teachings. They are intended to give a better understanding and show that we have evolved to the need for a greater definition. We are now looking toward the actual light. You can extract 4 stories from the Bible, 2 by reading it forward and 2 by reading it backward. Why? The Bible was so written as to mystify the old Chaldean priests who were perverting the teachings. For that reason, its teachings became wholly mysterious. After a recent talk, a gentleman came to me with a translation he had made of the Lord's Prayer. He had taken each word of the original and traced its meaning back to the root words. He has a translation which shows that the attitude of Jesus was not one of supplication. His prayer was significant beyond mere petition. The suggested translation ran, "In this matter, therefore, you do make your adoration, and do turn to your inherent power. We be you reborn by the exercise of this mental power that uplifts you to the homeland above. You do grant us this light of life in order that we may lose ourselves from this harvest of discord. Only as we dissolve or erase the harvester or sinner who harvests it. Nay, you do draw us back from the dangers of the conditions of the flesh." That is a very literal translation. Going from mouth to mouth, folklore crept into the Lord's Prayer, and a sentence here and a sentence there were changed. The individual today must recapture the original meaning. We may now step out of the condition which we believe submerges us. We need beg for nothing. We turn reverently to the power within which lifts our thoughts to union with the creative forces. All power flows to us when we look to it alone, to the power that we are, the power that God is. Thus, by conscious unity with God, we cease to sow tares and begin to build for the future in harmony with His laws. When humanity is in the depths of its own mistakes, it must be lifted up. People have been reaping what they have sown, but letting go of the condition, they release themselves, which is the only forgiveness. By forgiving, they are forgiven. God does not grant. Man must work according to law. We repeat the word sin, and every time we do, we fasten it not only to ourselves, but upon the whole human race. It is often said that the child is conceived in iniquity and born in sin. There is nothing further from the truth than that. A favorite statement of Jesus was, "I see the Christ in every face and in every form." When the first child was born, the Christ was born. If we let the child alone, we never submerge him. The influence surrounding him would keep him completely. All we need to do is to see the Christ in that child. The moment we present that child as the Christ, we bind ourselves together with that child in the greatest enlightenment. It is well known to the science that if one atom of our body were out of place, it would cease to exist. Jesus took no attitude of thought save that of the Christ. He presented to humanity in a straightforward, simple way what it could and must present to itself. Jesus demonstrated and gave the definitions of the Christ. It is that attitude of human form that allows God or principle to flow through the universe. It takes energy to do that, but the energy itself builds itself into this body until we become completely aware of it. We hear many say that we must go through life after life to accomplish these things. This human form is capable of doing anything you wish. There is no limitation put on it one way or the other. You can be just as unlimited in discord as you wish. But the moment you turn from it, you are out of it. Jesus said, in the twinkling of an eye. That did not mean that we need to go through rebirth after rebirth. When he talked from experience. When it is said that this is the 36th time of his reappearance, it is not meant to imply that it is through reincarnation. He said it was his privilege because of the great enlightenment that had been shown him. He could work in any sphere and on many planes unknown to us. The human eye does not record them. There are thousands of people who have followed him and had similar experiences, living in a condition of greater vibratory influence. There was not just one appearance of a man who could stand forth as the Christ. Jesus never claimed that he was the only one to portray the Christ. In all probability, the one man has come forth 36 times in periods of great stress and misunderstanding. Many others have done likewise. Were it not for this fact, humanity could easily have lost contact with the great understanding long ago. Every attitude of living responds to a certain vibratory influence or frequency. We live on those very planes by the very attitude we take toward those conditions. Therefore, we can progress only as our thoughts progress. The ideal we project, we accomplish. We can project an ideal this instant, and in succeeding instants, greater and greater ideals. We project along a definite line toward accomplishment. Our trouble is that we project an idea, and because we do not see it instantly, we turn back and stop it from coming into existence. The moment we doubt, we put up a wall. It is a wall that cannot be penetrated until it is dissolved in our thoughts. Dominion has been given to us, and we can make it an actual fact. It does not require begging for anything. It is a standing forth and becoming one with that very thing. Questions and answers. Question. Is the changing of vibrations brought about by a mental attitude? Answer. We can control every vibration by mental attitude. It is the attitude we take which brings about the change. Question. Are we conscious of raising the vibrations of the body? Answer. We become conscious that it can be accomplished. About the only explanation that I have that is different is this. You could not say the word God once and have the vibrations of your body respond to the lower frequency in which it was before you said the word. I am an engineer, not a teacher. We have carried on our research purposely to determine if these things are of any effect. If they cannot be brought out and made practical, we do not want anything to do with them. We believe they can. Question. Was Gender Sen resurrected? Answer. Evidently, Gender Sen had passed away. One of our party placed his hand on him and said that he was not breathing. Emil appeared and said that Gender Sen had passed away. We were told that it was an easy matter for us to assist him to return and take his body. Jesus and two others reappeared, and we all gathered around the couch where the body was lying. The body disappeared, and a few days later, Gender Sen appeared as a man of about 40 years. The words are recorded in the books. Question. I infer that in the days of that civilization, people lived in the realization of the spiritual life. Answer. Yes, they lived in the highest conception of man's identity, and with man's accomplishing everything he wished. The masters of today live in just such a way. Question. I am glad you are breaking up the idea that we must look to someone else. Answer. Behold God was the greatest sermon ever preached. With that condition, there can be no error. Man must get out of the rut. The Master can only lead the way. When you accomplish Christ, you see that it belongs to you. If you won't claim it, you must always stay outside. If you incorporate it, you can't keep it out. Question. Then we who have been in the theosophy field have been on the wrong track? Answer. Not necessarily. It may have been the means of bringing you to the accomplishment. Question. Were these teachings in existence before the Israelites? Answer. No, it is the teaching of the Israelites. Question. The avatar is closer to principle, but is that the essence of his message? Answer. Yes. The path which he shows or the life he lives becomes the path for all. Untitled 5. Science is fast unfolding the true story of evolution of this earth. We are learning the story of Lemuria, the continent sunk beneath the waters of the Pacific, as well as the story of Atlantis. We do not say that there was a localized continent known as Atlantis. Evidence is strong that there was a complete band of land around the earth. The people spoke of one language. Our language takes many of its words from the old language. The continent was known as Mu, and the people as Pan. Atlantis means a universal people who spoke a universal language spoken throughout the earth by one race and one people. They did live as one people and almost as one family. At the close of the Atlantean period, certain individuals were led to places of refuge, and from these survivors was founded the new race. Those people lived in the spiritual side of life, knowing and seeing nothing of the material side. That was the reason of their great accomplishments. To them, all was spiritual. Every accomplishment was made under a scientific fact termed spiritual. There was a complete understanding of all conditions. The early Sanskrit records gives us insight into their lives and accomplishments. They lived and thought definitely. We are just beginning to accomplish what those people lived. Just as we live with the electric light, airplane, and radio, those people communicated from one point and kept in constant communication with that point. From the city in the Gobi, where our foundation is working, they're kept in communication with the city, the ruins of which are 30 miles from Knoxville, Tennessee. There was a civilization that worked in art and science far greater than anything we know today. There's a point of that civilization on the British Columbia coast, another in the Mesa Verde, and another in Mexico, about 160 miles from our border, the ruins of which we have investigated. We believe we shall be able to show that the city in Mexico took its water from the Great Lake at the head of the Colorado River. The Colorado Gorge is 100,000 years old. Those people built aqueducts beautifully paved. The process of excavation has been slow because of the colossal size of the ruins. Our object is to bring out all the records and put them at the disposal of the world. With the help of the masters, we have been able to make translations of records dating far back of the knowledge of our material world. Our own limitations have kept us from authenticating these records to a point where we feel they would be acceptable to the world. Recently, I came in contact with a group of men who are accomplishing the things on which we have worked for over 40 years. All methods of approach and all formulas are the same. Such things do not just happen. The higher consciousness is fast becoming a world movement. The moment people see the light, they come by many roundabout ways. Questions and answers. Question: what do the masters do? Answer: they help humanity. That is all that is necessary for them to do. We have seen them feed thousands of people without any outside source of supply visible. They just hand out what is needed. Question: when are you going to get some pictures of these masters for your books? Answer: we are in hopes that as our planned trip goes forward, we shall be able to bring you the voice and moving pictures of Emil. Question: somehow it seems that the masters inspire us. Answer: the greatest inspiration is being one with them. But thoughts are greater than words. We open the way for negative thoughts, and we are not strong enough to get rid of them. Yet we can be as busy as can be and still present the Christ. If we worship perfection, it cannot help but come about. Question: what is the proper medium for the awakening? Answer: the individual awakening, as it is with the individual, it is with the group as it is with the group. It is with the nation as it is with the nation. It is with the world. Question: will you tell about how your family first met Emil? Answer: my great-grandfather met Emil soon after he first went to India and became very intimate with him because of an incident. My great-grandfather was an expedition going along a regular highway. A man rode up and suggested that they turn off the main highway onto another route. My great-grandfather thought it was peculiar, but asked no questions, following the suggestions of this man who accompanied them. The next morning this man left the party. A few days later the news came that the bandit band had come down on the highway they had been following at a time and place where they would have been had they followed the original course. Because of that incident, my great grandfather kept in touch with the man, and my family has kept in touch with him ever since. That man is over 500 years of age. My family has a record of him for over 300 years. The records show him to be over 500. If a man can live 500 years, he can live 5,000. Emil does not look to be a day over 40. Question: why is it that Emil hasn't ascended? He couldn't he? Answer: yes, anyone can, but it is a question of taking your body out of the condition where it can be of most service to humanity. The life of the masters is one of service to humanity, and they don't do anything to disturb life. Question: as I understand it, the masters could ascend as well as did Jesus? Answer: the body of Jesus was changed before it was nailed to the cross. He knew that they couldn't harm him. Jesus knew definitely that they could take that body and destroy it, and that he could reassemble it. His act was to show that to the people that there isn't anything miraculous, but that it is a perfect natural condition. You could take your body any place you desired right tonight if you projected your vision to that place. If you manifest in a spiritual condition instantly when you project you are there. It is necessary for the person to have a name for an accomplishment, but the accomplishment may be viewed in a million ways. Question: do you consider that Jesus completed his work? Answer: he not only completed it, he is here today in the same body that has nailed to the cross. The data hasn't been contradicted in 20 years. Question: how do you explain the statements, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Answer: this is a mistranslation. The words actually were, my God, Thou hast never forsaken me, or any of thy children, for thy children can come to thee as I have come. They can see my life as I have lived my life. Thus, by living that life, they do incorporate the Christ and become one with thee, God my Father. The translators didn't understand meaning of the words and guessed at many of them. Thus we have the mistranslations. A true Bible could be put out today if it weren't for the disturbing of the people's thoughts. It will come out gradually until the people accept the records. Question. Tell us the separation of planets. Is that the way you account for the distribution of life on other planets? Answer. With the right conditions, life could spring up on any planet. Each planet is born from the sun and goes on until human life develops on it. Human life is exactly similar to a planet and is capable of expressing all life. Man has lowered himself by the thoughts he has taken and has been held in the conditions of today, becoming subservient instead of a master. Really, everything is accomplished, and all man has to do is to accept it. Untitled 6. Science and living go hand in hand. Scientists have made many statements which they later found were not facts. They erred because they did not recognize that there is but one principle. Science will no longer be scholarly guesswork when scientists begin to correlate all conditions to that one principle. The discoveries of scientists today are so close to the truth that there are no actual discrepancies. We look forward to the day when this will be apparent to all. Photography is playing a great part in demonstrating this truth. I want to tell you of some of the advancements that have occurred which I witnessed on my recent trip to India. There are great people living there who are not only more than 500 years old, but actually 3 and 4,000 years old. I do not blame you if you are mystified and question my statement. But the facts are true, even if a skeptical Western world does not accept them. You do not need to take my word for it. I merely am attempting to tell you how these people live and how they accomplish their purposes. Many people ask me the purpose of living hundreds of years. Now, if you could live 1,000 years and be just as young as you wish, wouldn't you have a wonderful fund of information at your command? Couldn't you be of great assistance to humanity? Unless you have been an outstanding person, your life is quickly forgotten after you pass through the change we call death. That very forgetfulness is a drain on humanity. The influence of a person that has been forgotten becomes more or less dormant, even though it actually carries on. The memory does not go back to bring that influence into perfect conformity to the completion of humanity. We are here to bring civilization to a point from which it will never go back into darkness. We are to rise completely out of limitation. The experiments which we were privileged to witness show the great strides being made toward the completion and stepping forth of this race into the seventh stage of its development. In the Bose Institute, it has been demonstrated that photographs can be taken of the single cell, of that cell as it divides and builds another cell, then all taking their place and function in the body. There are billions of cells built every moment. As the cell divides and creates a new cell, a thought is implanted upon it. In the first cell, all is perfect. That cell was first known as the Christ cell. It is always just as young as ever it was. It never takes on old age. It is a primal spark of life. When we implant in it our thoughts of limitation or old age, or any condition outside of perfection, the body responds. Cells born from the first cell take on its image. Originally, it is the image and likeness of God. It is perfect in every way, but it becomes the form we carry in our minds. Can't we see, if we carry the image of perfection always, what that will do for these cells? It will build perfection. When we make a success of perfection, we add energy to our bodies. Dr. Bose says that if we are expanding our energy for imperfection, the efficiency of the body can be stepped up to 100% by turning the energy into the channels of perfection. We can go on just as we are, but isn't it really better to live a definite life? There is so much ahead of us if we will but change our thoughts. Jesus had lived the most scientific life of which we know. His life has been to show that everyone can accomplish just as he did. Our trouble has been that we have not taken the time to understand his simple teachings. We have always looked for the spectacular someone to stick pins in his flesh, he be buried alive, or suspend animation. But such demonstrations do humanity no good if the accomplishment is not along scientific lines such that it can be used for everyday purposes. It has no value to individuals. The most valuable thing to humanity is the simple truth by which we can live every day and use every moment of our lives. It is a most remarkable privilege when we learn how to use thought in our lives. Dr. Bose remarked, "What an age we are living in! What an age of simplicity we are coming to! And what a privilege to live this life and see humanity out of the rut of poverty and distress. I can see the whole world lifting itself out of limitation by the use of thought." Dr. Bose shows that we can control every part of the plant life. He proves that there is not a plant in existence that did not come into manifestation through the thoughts of man. Man has built it all. It is that God principle flowing through humanity that brings into being this beauty we see in nature. He makes the statement that if it were not for human family, there would be nothing in existence today, not even the animals. If there were no fear in the hearts of humanity, there would not be a carnivorous animal in existence, or an animal that fights another. We know that the fiercest animal will not harm us if we do not fear it. Unless we emit fear, that animal will pass by us just as it passes a tree or grass. It is often said that if you love an animal, it will always be your friend and protector. When the medicine man takes up his work, he must perform his healings instantly. It is a silent ceremony. We saw 12 men go to the medicine man's tent for healing, none of them staying more than 1 minute, and all came away healed. We have seen the same things in India. We can trace and verify instantaneous healings in this country. Our great trouble comes from the fact that we allow our thought to scatter. They have a very effective method of teaching in India. The child is placed before a canvas on which there is a single black dot. The child is directed to focus his vision to that dot, and in that condition, his problem is presented. Jesus taught that principle, complete concentration on God. Then the Hindu beholds the pyramid. He looks from the large end to the point. We look from the point to the large end, allowing our vision to scatter. Just try to hold your vision to a certain point for several moments, then let it go from side to side and back to that point again. By the exercise, you tone up the optic nerve. Likewise, you can centralize your thought on a point of the body, thereby bringing energy to that point and taking it out of any condition of imperfection. Questions and answers. Questions. Are the masters reincarnated? Answer. They talk very little about reincarnation. It isn't necessary for them to be reincarnated. Ascension is only the accession of the thoughts. If we vision a place where we would like to be and yet remain here, it is our own thoughts that keep us here. Instantly, we vision a better condition. We could be in that condition instantly. We have seen the masters manifesting not only in one body, but in three bodies. We have one instance where a body has lain inactive for 6 years, and it is in just as good a state of preservation as ever. Question. You say that there is an individual in India you know as Jesus. I realized the Christ in me, and I would like to contact the personality of Jesus. Answer. You are making an idol of the personality. You don't need to present the personality to present the Christ. Question. What about death? Answer. No one ever died who didn't choose to die. We have been told that we must die, but God never told us so. Question. Tell us about reincarnation. Answer. It is a remedy for the mistake of death. It is a light on the blind path of death. To the masters, it is not necessary. They accomplish everything right here in this life. There really is no death. It is a mistake. We can prove that photographically there is never a cessation of life. Consequently, there could be no death. There is no one to make the choice for you. There is no question but that every individual makes the choice. It looks on the photographs as though at the moment the life element leaves the body and goes on. It begins to assemble substance and build a new body. It must have intelligence. The soul is only the vehicle of the spirit. All is spirit always. If there is spirit outside of us, there is spirit within. You cannot make a separation, because in making a separation, you become divided. If we make no separation, we are always at one with that thing. That is what is known as atonement, at one-ment. It is the body throwing off the worn out cells. In that way, we die every instant and resurrect every instant. There is not a body in the world which is over 7 years old. It is only the idea we present to the body that gives it the form of age above 7 years. We grow in accomplishment, but it is not necessary to take on any other condition. But we do. We will not let this body alone. We see only the conditions which surround us. The instant we project an ideal for ourselves that is higher than that in which we have been living, we have made a complete new body and a new situation for that body. That body is definitely electronic or spiritual, whichever you like to pronounce it. Everything is spiritual. You could not define it as anything else but spiritual and live true to form. You may define it as God if you wish. It is all exactly the same thing. It is only the thoughts we take for the body that take it out of that condition. In reality, it is never out of that condition. Question. I believe in being the Christ. I have always thought of Jesus as being the favored one. Answer. Jesus said that had he proclaimed that he was the only Christ, he could not have become the Christ. You could not say God once and have your body function at the same vibrations as before. It is not the Word of God, but the Word God. Light and life is all one. You must give it one name always. You can never think of these things but that your body is vibrating at a higher attitude. These things can be reduced to a mathematical formula, and I believe that you are going to see that put out within 18 months. It will be a true mathematical formula that can be worked out whereby the body will fall right into line every time. It will be for all. No one will be able to withhold it when it is worked out. It will be as simple as the mathematical table, and it will be used for bodily perfection. It is being worked out right here in the United States. Question: do you believe that it is possible now for one to bring his vibrations up to a point where he can take his physical body with him? Answer: yes, there are hundreds and perhaps thousands who are doing it. I believe it will be worked out that those people are setting up vibrations in their bodies which are greater than gravity. End of Untitled 6.